النية ومعنى النية أن ينوي رفع الحدث، أن ينوي عنه الرفع الحدث.
The first pillar of wudu is intention, and it's not just any intention, it's the intention to either remove the hadath,
أو أن
the
تستبيح
ritual
الصلاة،
impurity, or to make prayer permissible,
أو تستبيح مس المصحف، يعني الذي حملك عليه أنك تفعل كذا وكذا.
or to make permissible to touching the mushaf or whatever it may be.
وغسل الوجه، هذه هي الفريضة الثانية، غسل الوجه. وغاية الوجه من منابت شعر الرأس المعتاد إلى نهاية الذقن لمن ليس له لحية، أو نهاية اللحية لمن له لحية، وعرضا من وتيد الأذن، ويسيل ويصيل هذا الحنك الملتوية، وهكذا.
And the second pillar of wudu is to wash the face. And this is, and the face is from the normal hairline to the bottom of the chin, and from ear to ear along the jaw and along the whole jaw itself. So along the ridges of the jaw, and from top of the forehead to the normal hairline, down to under the chin and ear to ear.
وأنا أقول لكم لو قرأ الإنسان القرآن كله والكتب الستة ولم يعثر على تفصيل الفقهاء لبقي وما توضأ.
And I will tell you that absolutely, if somebody reads the whole Quran and memorizes it and reads every hadith from beginning to end, and he does not look at what the fuqaha have said about the boundaries of the face and so on, even about just the boundaries of the face, he wouldn't correct his wudu
بإجماع العلماء.
according to the consensus of the scholars.
بين العلماء حد الوجه وبينوا أن فيه مواضع ينبوع عنها الماء فبينوها، فالكثير من أو غالب الناس إذا لم يتعلموا لا يفهمون.
The scholars have clarified not just the boundaries of the face, but the parts of the face that the water does not reach just by scrubbing without particularly attending to those parts.
فجميعكم الآن يقرؤون الآية ولا يتوضعون.
Because all of you are reading the verse, wash your faces in wudu,
ولا يتوضعون.
but they're still not making wudu properly.
يتوضؤون ولا يتوضعون.
They're making wudu, but they're not making wudu.
يتوضؤون ويعصون.
They're making wudu, but they're disobedient.
هذا ولا يحل لهم يفعل فعلا حتى يعلم حكم الله.
This is the action that is haram to do until they know Allah's
أنت
ruling.
لا تغسل وجهك إلا أن تعرف غسل الوجه.
You cannot wash your face if you don't know how to wash your
لا
face.
يجوز إجماعا.
It is haram to do.
اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
Ask the people of remembrance if you don't know.
الوجه حده ما ذكرناه، فيه مواضع ينبوع عنها الماء، العينان وطاقتي الأنف والمارن والشفتان يطبقهما كالطابق على الميم والعنفقة، وهكذا لو كان في الوجه تكمش كما يقع للكبار في السن فيجب عليه يدخل الماء في جميع ذلك.
So the eyebrows, under the ridge here of the eye. This is something that if you go like this, the water will go over it. Under the nose, under the bridge of the nose over here. If you go like this, the water will never reach here. And here as well, here.
وطيات الوجه لمن كبر.
And the wrinkles of the face for those who are older in age. The water will never reach here until you actually go and get the water there and scrub it.
وكذلك في الشفتين يكون كالطابق على الميم كالمتكلم بالميم الساكنة إن طبقا عاديا.
And also over the lips, in the position of saying the meme, like
كالميم الساكنة إم.
Like
هذا وضع عادي طبيعي.
Just over that area.
The translation with the boundaries, I believe Sheikh said to the end of the beard.
نعم يجب أن يغسل جميع لحيته ولو طالت إلى القدم.
And even it was to specify جزاك الله خير that when you wash the face, if you have a beard, that you go يعني with أقول التفاصيل.
نعم إذا كانت خفيفة يدخل الماء في وسطها.
That if the beard is light,
كل الشعر إذا كانت تظهر تحته البشرة.
That light meaning that if you could see the skin through the beard.
نظر المعتاد.
just by looking normally, not by inspecting, just by looking at somebody you can see, then that's considered a light beard, and they have to go through their beard to make sure the water reaches the skin. And this is in relation to all the hair on the face.
كمثل الحاجبين والشفتين والعفقة.
Like the eyebrows and so on, and all of these things, and the that you have to, if you can see the skin, then you have to.
يجب إدخال الشعر الماء تحت كل شعرة كان.
Get the water under that hair. But if you cannot see the skin, the general rule
يجب عليك العرق وإدخال الماء ولكن لا يجب التدقيق في ذلك.
The general rule is to scrub over the beard then. You
حتى
don't have to put
يداخلها
your
الماء.
fingers in. So you put the water and you scrub the beard, so the water will enter the beard, but not that you have to go detail by detail and hair by hair. And then you go all the way to the ends of the beard. That actually becomes the boundary of your face, is the end of your beard. Not just the bottom of the chin. For those who have a longer beard, just make sure you cover the whole beard, not you just get to here and you leave the beard alone. Definitely.
وغسل الوجه إلى رأس الوجه وغسل اليدين. غسل اليدين ابتداء هذا السنة. أما الغسل اليدين المراد إلى المرفقين فهذا في القرآن العظيم فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم المرافق.
That as for
الفريضة الثالثة.
The third requirement, it is washing the hands. And this is
من رؤوس الأصابع إلى المرفقين.
From the tips of the fingers until the wrists, or until the elbows.
ولا بد من إدخال المرفقين.
نعم.
لا بد من إدخال المرفقين.
And you must include the elbows also, not just up to the elbows.
فالغاية هنا داخلة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق داخلا.
So then the hands all the way to the elbows, Allah says, or it is mentioned to the elbows. To here means including the elbows.
نعم هذا واجب ويجب عليه تخليل الأصابع وتخليل الطيات في الغسل الواجب والأظافر هكذا يدخل الماء ولكن لا يوسوس.
This is and the hands includes the fingers.
هكذا
that he just scrubs. You scrub the fingers like something like this.
ويتابع الطيات يعني.
And to follow any wrinkles or any folds.
ويخلل الأصابع.
And to go through the fingers as well.
بالدلك أما الماء فهذا ما يحتاج هذا.
With massaging, with like meaning with scrubbing.
Isn't just pushing water? Because if you scrub, then you might like.
Yeah. So scrubbing, and a person shouldn't be obsessive about this. Just simply to scrub over it and between the fingers and so on.
نعم. ولا يتكل على الغسلة الأولى لا يكمل ذراعه كما سئلت عنه مرات لا يكمل ذراعه اتكالا على الغسلة الأولى فتلك السنة لا تنوب عن الفرض.
And that a person should not think that just because they washed their hand at the beginning of the wudu, that this suffices for washing their hand later on when they wash their arm in wudu, because beginning with washing the hand, this is a sunnah. So when and the sunnah does not suffice for the requirement of washing the hand. حتى إن كان الترتيب
لا يجوز لأنه نوابها الفرض لا ينوب نيته عن الواجب.
So the person had intended that they began with their hand as a sunnah, then that sunnah does not suffice the fard of doing the wudu over the hand. So meaning that once you get to your arm in wudu, do your hand again from the fingertips to the elbow.
ومسح الرأس مسح جميع الرأس.
And the wiping over the head, you wipe over all the area where the hair is.
والرأس يدخل فيه البياض الذي بين الأذنين ومنابت الشعر.
And also the empty space.
إلى أن تمس الأذن وصول الأذن.
The empty space between the hair and the ears is also included as part of the رأس. And all the area where the hair normally is. And then you follow all the way until the end of where the hair normally ends. وإن كان الشعر طويل. And if a person has long hair, then they have to go over all of their long hair as well on the outside.
وإذا كان في رأسه شيء لا ينبت عليه الشعر لأجل ضربة أو دم عملي أو شيء ليس طبيعي يجب عليه مسحه على التخصيص. كان في ضربة أو شيء ليس طبيعي ليس الصلع ضربة أو قطعة ولم ينبت عليه شعر يجب عليه أن يجعل الماء ويمسحها على الخصوص.
يعني
يمسحها بشيء خاص معناه يجعل على أصبع الماء ويمسحها لا يتكل على هذه المسحة لابد أن يمسها.
And if a person has a part of their skin, a
وشيء
part
غير
of their
طبيعي
head, that something is unnatural, that maybe they got a wound and they have a scar where the hair does not grow, or some other thing happened, something not natural and normal, meaning not normal baldness, then a person, then they should make sure that they actually specifically take water and wipe it over that part, because the first wipe, if they have hair everywhere except for that one area, it will never reach that one area.
ومسح الرأس وغسل الرجلين إلى الكعبين. غسل الرجلين ولا يجب عليه أن يحتاط ويتابع الأشياء الداخلية حتى يصلها الماء.
And the next
إلى
pillar,
المرفقين بإدخال الكعبين إلى الكعبين بإدخال الكعبين.
and the next pillar of wudu is to wash the feet up to, meaning here including the ankles. And a person should go also between the toes, and the same way they did with their hand, between the toes and all the way up, including make sure everything is
دخول
done.
الماء في بين الأصابع واجب وأما تخريمها بالدرك فسيأتي أنه مندوب.
That as far as entering the water between the toes,
وصول
this
إلى
is
كل
required.
مكان.
This is required for the water to reach everywhere, but entering your finger toe through toe to make sure that the water gets there and to touch, this is something that is preferred, which we'll mention later.
والدلك مرور العضو على العضو مرورا خفيفا ليس شديدا.
And a light scrubbing of, meaning to touch with your hand or with something else, to scrub the areas of wudu, the areas where the water is required to go. All these areas we mentioned are required to actually, except for the washing areas, not the wiping, for the washing to be done with scrubbing is required.
والدلك والفور المتابعة بأن لا يقطع الأعضاء بقدر ما يجف الأول قبل الدخول في الثاني أو الثالث.
And then fawr is meaning not taking breaks, to continue and not take a break long enough for one of the limbs to dry under normal conditions.
قبل الدخول في الثاني.
Before, meaning not take a long enough of a
انتهيت
break.
منه ليس ذاك اللي قبله اللي انتهيت منه قبل أن تدخل فيما بعده.
No, not to take a break long enough between
الذي
the two.
انتهيت منه والذي تدخل إليه. بين العضو الذي انتهيت منه والذي ستصل.
Meaning that the limb that you just did, for a limb that you just did to dry under normal conditions before you begin the next limb. So meaning that this is individual for each thing, a break is allowed, not a compilation of all the breaks together, but if you shouldn't take one break between any two parts, that the previous part that you just did would dry under normal conditions, meaning normal size, height, size of a person, temperature, etc. يعني دقيقتين.
قدر ما تشكل الأعضاء بحسب العادة. حسب العادة.
Inshallah, we'll have the questions. Just write them down and ask towards the end, inshallah.
والسنن وغسل اليدين إلى الكوعين.
And
سنن وتغسيل يديك ابتداء السنة إلى الكوعين.
And it is a sunnah to add additionally the washing of hands up to the wrists at the beginning of the wudu.
عند الشروع 3 مرات.
3 times.
والمضمضة وهي إدخال الماء في الفم وتحريكه منه وفيه ومجه معناها دفعه بقوة هذا أيضا 3 مرات.
And the madmada, which is to rinse one's mouth with force, to move the water within one's mouth. This is something that is a sunnah of wudu. These now we have
3 مرات.
3 times we have entered into the sunnah of the wudu.
والاستنشاق وهو جعل الماء في الأنف 3 مرات.
So far, washing the hands up to the wrists at the beginning of wudu, rinsing the mouth with force, sniffing the water into the nose is another sunnah.
نعم والاستنشاق والاستنثار هو رد الماء من الأنف 3.
And then taking the water out and to doing this 3 times also. entering water into the
بعد
nose,
كل ما
taking it out 3
تستنشق
times.
تردها كل ما تستنشق 3 مرات.
For each one of the times you bring water into your nose, it is the sunnah to take it out also.
وردوا مسح الرأس ومسح العينين. ردوا الرأس المسح بقية في اليدين بل يسن له أن يرد حتى يصل إلى ابتداء الرأس.
And it is the sunnah not just to wipe over the head once going backwards, but also to go forwards again, to go back over it.
ومسح الأذنين.
And to wipe over the ears also, wiping.
وتجديد الماء لهما السنة فلو مسحتهما ببقية ماء الرأس لكنت تاركا للسنة.
And if you and to separately wipe the ears, then the wiping of the head, to use a different water, you need touch a different water when you wipe your ears for wiping your head. If you do so, if you wipe the head and the ears with the same water, then that is permissible, but you have abandoned the sunnah.
وتجديد الماء لهما والترتيب بين الفرائض كما قال تعالى فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين.
And doing the order of these in the order Allah has given is the sunnah. As Allah said, wash your faces and your arms up to your elbows, and wipe your and wipe your heads and wash your feet to the ankles.
Hands to elbow.
Hands to elbows and feet to ankles. Yes.
You said arm.
Oh, hands.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. Hands.
ومن نسي فرطا من أعضائه فإن تذكر بالقرب فعله وما بعده يتذكر عضو من أعضائه وتذكره قبل أن تجف أعضاؤه فواجب عليه أن يغسل ذلك اللي تركه ولكن يندب له أن يعيد ذلك ثانيا.
So if a person just forgets one limb of the limbs of wudu, and they remember before their limbs have dried, then it is then they go and they just do that one area and their wudu would be valid. But it is or حتى قسم من
فإن تذكره بالقرب نعم أو قسمه
or a whole limb or a part of a
يغسله
limb,
وشوبا ويعيد ما بعده ويعيد ما بعده.
then he it is required for him to wash it, to have wudu,
لتحصيل الترتيب.
and then it is preferred for him to continue and as if that's the last limb that they did, to do the other limbs in the order after that, but that's not required.
والترتيب بين الفرائض ونسي فرضا من أعضائه فإن تذكر بالقرب فعله وما بعده سنة ما بعده وإن طال فعله وحده وعاد ما صلى قبله.
And if he
طال بأن جفت الأعضاء.
And if the limbs have dried,
وتذكر عضوا لم يغسله فليغسله وحده وجوبا ولا يندب له إعادة ما بعده.
If the limbs have already dried, then he should just do that one limb that he forgot, and it is not preferred for him to do the limbs after that. And if he had prayed with that incomplete wudu, then he must redo that prayer.
وعاد ما صلى قبله وإن ترك سنة فعلها ولا يعيد الصلاة كمن ترك المضمضة والاستنشاق أو مسح الأذنين وتذكرهما بعد أن صلى فلا يعيد الصلاة والصلاة صحيحة ولكن يسن له أن يفعل ذلك في المستقبل. من نسي سنة كغسل المضمضة والاستنشاق ومسح الأذنين بعد أن صلى فلا يعيد الصلاة ولكن يسن له أن يفعلها للمستقبل. من نسي سنة كمسح الأذنين أو المضمضة والاستنشاق.
Whoever forgets a sunnah that from their wudu, like as the madmad, such as the rinsing of the mouth or the nose, or the taking out the water and so on.
نسي سنة فعلها لو كان صلى صلاة صاحة يسن له أن يفعلها بالمستقبل.
That it is his prayer is of course valid because his wudu is valid. It's only missing a sunnah. وماذا يفعل للوضوء؟
لا ويفعلها للمستقبل.
And he should not forget that sunnah again.
يفعلها للمستقبل يفعلها الآن وهو ما زال على وضعه.
فقط ولا يفعل الذي بعده. So he should do that, just do that part that he forgot for the coming prayers and not to repeat the older prayers.
وإن ترك سنة فعلها ولا يعيد الصلاة.
And then
لا يعيد الصلاة قطعا.
And he should not repeat the prayer at all.
ومن نسي لمعتنا غسلها واللي كنت تتكلم عنه قطعة من بدنه ما مسها فليغسلها والتفصيل إذا كان مسألة أعضاء مبلولة يعيد ما بعدها وإن كان قد جفت فيفعلها يفقط
فهي مثل
عضو هي تساوي أصلها.
And if somebody forgot a part of a required limb, then it is as if he had forgotten that whole limb, but then he only would need to do that part of the limb. And then the details we talked about, if the other limbs are still wet, then he should, it is preferred for him to do the limbs after that in the order. If the limbs have already dried, then it is not preferred for him to do that. If he had prayed while he had that incomplete wudu, then he must redo that prayer.
وما بعده فعله وما بعده ومن نسي فرضا من أعضائه فإن تذكر بالقرب فعله وما بعده ومن طال فعله وحده وعاد ما صلى قبله ومن ترك سنة فعلها ولا يعود الصلاة ومن نسي لمعة غسلها وحدها بنيته ومن صلى قبل يغسلها قبل بنيته شفت الأعضاء وإلا فلا يغسلها مع ما بعدها ومن صلى قبل ذلك بأنها كان ناقصا بلمعة فعاد الصلاة أبدا.
And of course, if the person missed even a small part that they, had still like some part of their elbow that was not done washing or whatever, then and they prayed with that small part of that limb missing, the prayer is incomplete and the prayer is invalid, and they must repeat that prayer. It doesn't matter how long it's passed.
وإن صلى قبل ذلك عاد ومن تذكر المضمضة والاستنشاق بعد أن شرع في الوجه فلا يرجع إليهما حتى يتم وضوءه. من تذكر سنة كالمضمضة والاستنشاق وإلى غير ذلك من السنن بعد أن شرع في العضو الذي بعد ذلك فلا يرجع حتى يكمل الوضوء وقيل إنه حتى يكمل ذلك العضو فقط.
And if a person has moved on to a fard after he has forgotten a sunnah, such as the rinsing of the mouth or the nose and so on, meaning somebody who began washing his face already, then he shouldn't interrupt that to go back to rinsing his mouth or washing his hands, but he should finish. There's a difference of opinion whether he should finish that limb and then go back, or finish the whole wudu and then go back and do that sunnah that he missed.
وفضائله يعني أن مندوبات الوضوء التسمية يقول بسم الله وفي إكمالها قولان ابتداء.
So those are the sunnahs of wudu. Now we are in the preferred matters of the wudu that aren't at the level of sunnah, that are the level of mandub, which are preferred.
فضائله التسمية يقول بسم الله أو يقول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل يكملها أم لا قولا.
The virtuous things to do in wudu is to begin with the Bismillah or Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
واحذروا من تلك الأذكار التي يفعلها بعض الناس عند كل عضو لا تحتاج.
And be aware of those dhikrs that people say you should do at every limb. This is not authentic.
نعم. والسواك كذلك أيضا قبل الدخول في الوضوء السنة.
And also using a مسواك before starting your wudu is a sunnah.
والزائد على الغسلة الأولى يعني الغسلة الأولى إذا كفت أتقنت فالغسلة الثانية والثالثة كل منهما مندوبة.
And then if the first time you wash a limb is perfect, there is not even a small part that is missing, then the second and third wash are preferred.
الثانية والثالثة واليدين. وغسلة الأولى في الوجه واليدين يعني في المغسولات في الوجه واليدين والقدمين.
And this is of course in the things that are washed, such as the face, the hands and arms, and the feet.
أولة الماء وترتيب السنن والبداءة بمقدم الرأس كذلك أيضا يندب أن يبدأ بمقدم العضو وكذلك غيره من أعضاء مقدم الرأس وكذلك غيره من أعضاء الوضوء بأن يبدأ بأولها ما يبدأ بآخرها.
That also for the limbs of washing يعني بالنهاية يعني يبدأ
بالابتداء قالوا البداية.
So it is also
بداية الوجه هكذا أو بداية
so for all the limbs then a person should begin with the tip, with the beginning, and then go down. With the face from the front, then go back. With the feet, the toes, and then go back.
نعم. بدأت بمقدم الرأس وترتيب السنن. ترتيب السنن هي ابتداء غسل اليدين وبعد ذلك المضمضة والاستنشاق وترتيبها مع الفرائض هذا مندوب بأن ترتبها هي بنفسها. بعد ذلك تجعل بعدها أعضاء الوضوء وتؤخر الأذنين. معناها ترتيب السنن وحدها ومع الفرائض الوضوء مندوب.
So then in the ordering of the sunnah and the fard, the ordering of the sunnah in the right order that we mentioned. And then the ordering of the fard with them also. يعني فتكون اليدين الفم
كما قال تعالى اغسلوا وجوهكم. لا ترتيب أعضاء الوضوء الواجب، ليس ترتيب أعضاء السنة. ترتيب أعضاء الوضوء سنة، وأما ترتيب السنة نعم هذا مندوب، عن اليدان وبعد ذلك المضمضة والاستنشاق وتقديمهما على الوجه وتأخير الأذنين عن الرأس، كله ندب، فلو جمعها قبلها ما كان مخالفا للسنة.
فكلها تكون hands, mouth, nose, face, arms, head,
لا
ears,
ترتيب
feet.
السنن.
نعم.
ترتيب السنن
نعم.
مع الفرائض، ترتيبها في نفسها وترتيبها مع الفرائض.
نعم. So ordering the sunan in their own self is a sunnah, and ordering them with the farad, I'm not sure
is a sunnah.
what does that mean, ordering with the farad.
ترتيب السنن الفرائض سنة، وترتيب المندوبات مندوب.
So to have the farad in order is a sunnah,
No.
and to have the sunnahs in order is mandub.
No.
وقلة الماء على الوضوء، وقلة الماء على العضو كذلك أيضا يندب تقليل الماء بعد الإتقان، بعد أن تتأكد الإتقان في الماء وبعد ذلك إسرافه فيه مكروه.
نعم.
قلة الماء على العضو مع الإتقان، عندما يتقن مكروه يزيد الماء.
And completing the wudu
مندوب قلة الماء مع الإتقان.
completing the wudu in a perfect manner, but with the use of little water is preferred, is mandub.
تقديم اليمنى على اليسرى.
And starting with the right limb before the left for things you have a right and left.
ويجب تخليل أصابع اليدين، معناها تخليل ما بالدرك، أما الماء فهذا لا نحتاج إليها، واضح جدا.
And giving the scrubbing between the
أصابع اليدين.
the fingers of the hand.
أما الماء فهذا لا نتكلم عنه، واضح.
Of course, the water is required to go between them, but the scrubbing in between the fingers, this is preferred.
أصابع ويستحب في أصابع الرجلين.
And it is preferred also.
بغير وصول ماء، ما وصول ماء فهو واجب لكل البشرات. هذا يتكلم عن الدرك، ما يتكلم عن وصول ماء. وصول ماء لكل البشرات واجب.
So giving the like scrubbing between the toes of the feet also is preferred.
تخليل ماء بالدرك، أما تخليل ماء بالماء فهذا واجب.
As for the getting the water through them,
هذا مندوب ومشهور مذهب مالك، وقيل إنه واجب. تخليله بالدلك، ليس الماء، ليس الماء واجب. تخليله بالدلك.
Getting the water between the toes is required. Getting water between the fingers is required. Scrubbing the limbs is required, but scrubbing between the fingers and scrubbing between the toes is preferred.
هذا هو المشهور وقيل إنه واجب.
And there's another opinion that it is also required to scrub between the fingers and toes.
As far to scrub between the fingers, but not the toes.
Or this you have to make a غسل الوضوء.
It is only preferred. It's the scrubbing
is
mandub between the fingers and mandub between the toes. Getting the water between fingers and toes is required. As far as scrubbing between the fingers and scrubbing between the toes, there is the opinion, which is the mashhur, that we are mentioning, that it is mandub, it is preferred to scrub between the fingers and toes, but there is also another opinion that it is required.
ويستحب في أصابع الرجلين ويجب تخليل اللحية الخفيفة التي تظهر البشرة تحتها.
And it is preferred, يعني يستحب.
يجب
required.
اللحية الخفيفة في الوضوء.
And it is required to run one's fingers through to touch the skin that is visible through the beard and wudu.
دون الكثيفة.
As opposed to the thick beard that you cannot see the skin through.
ويجب تخليلها في الغسل ولو كانت كثيفة.
And in ghusl, however, importantly, you must go through your beard with your fingers while you're doing ghusl. Ghusl is not like wudu. You go through the beard entirely and scrub it thoroughly. Under every hair is impurity.
فصل نواقض الوضوء أحداث وأسبابه. كنا نتكلم عن فرائض والآن مبطلاته.
So now we are talking about the things that invalidate the wudu, things which nullify the wudu.
نواقض الوضوء أحداث
So there are ahdath, which are things that
سيتكلم على الأحداث.
we'll discuss what they are, things that directly nullify the wudu.
أسباب.
And there are also asbab, which means causes. So we'll know what that means in a minute.
وسيتكلم على ذلك.
We'll know what these all mean.
فالأحداث البول.
The ahdath, the things that directly nullify the wudu are number 1, urination.
والغائط.
And also defecation.
والمذي.
And number 3 is madi
والودي.
and wadi.
ما هو المذي وما هو الودي؟
What are these two things?
بين لهم الودي.
Madi is a clear fluid that comes out due to arousal that is and wadi resembles sperm but is not sperm. It comes out not due to arousal, it comes out often due to pressure. It is like a white type of fluid that comes out. It resembles sperm but it is not sperm. It comes out due to pressure often, or somebody is going to the bathroom, sometimes it comes out. And the madi is the clear fluid that comes out sometimes due to arousal. نعم.
يقع من اللذة الصراع عن المني.
That is from the smaller arousal. It's an incomplete arousal. It's not
Pre-seminal fluid.
a pre-seminal fluid. Yes.
Likely out of the man.
من المرأة والرجل.
كل ما يخرج من الفرج ما قبل.
Yeah, this is for both men and women.
والأسباب النوم الثقيل.
And the from the other causes of breaking wudu is is heavy sleep.
وذلك بأن تنقطع عنك الأصوات المرتفعة بجنبك لا اختلاطها أو يسقط شيء من يدك ما تشعر به ويسقط قانوك أو تسقط السبحة من يدك هذا تقديرا ويسيل الريق من فمك ولا تشعر به أول نوم الثاقب.
So heavy sleep means that somebody sleeps to the point that a loud noise next to
يغيب
them,
العقل.
and it wouldn't wake them up, that they are unaware of the sounds. The sounds have all become blended around them. Their mind, meaning that their consciousness of what's going on around them is gone, or that they are they're sleeping to the
ومعنى
point.
الثقيل هو هذا من يسقط منك الكتاب أو السبحة ولا تشعر بها.
This
غيبوبة.
heavy sleep to the point which, and this is the definition, that if something fell from you, something dropped from you, you
ولا
wouldn't
تشعر
notice.
به. ولا تشعر به.
That you're not conscious of that
أو
happening.
تنحل حبوتك ولا تشعر بها هكذا.
Or your hands become parted and you didn't notice.
أو يسقط قانوك ولا تشعر به.
Or your head falls down and you
أو
don't notice.
يسيل الريق ولا تشعر به.
Or drool is coming out and you didn't notice.
ولا فرق في أي حالة سواء كنت جالسا أو غير جالس في مذهب مالك.
And in the Maliki madhab, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting down, laying down, standing up, jumping,
خلافا للشافعية والأحناف.
as opposed to the Shafi'is and the Hanafis.
والإغماء وهو فقدان العقل.
Unconsciousness
كمن من
also,
أصابته حرارة أو صداع حتى غاب عقله.
passing out meaning.
والسكر وهو ما نشأ عن شرب خمر.
And also drunkenness, which comes about by drinking alcohol.
والجنون
هل يعني مثلا
كل ما يغيب العقل.
anything that takes one in a state of being drunkenness or high to the point that their consciousness is gone.
والجنون والقبلة.
And insanity.
القبلة وضع الفم على الفم ولو غفلة ولو غير ولو ما أرادها وما وجد لذة.
And kissing mouth to mouth also makes one, is a direct cause of making one lose their wudu, even if it is by accident, even if they find no pleasure in it.
ولمس المرأة لمس غير القبلة ذلك بشرط أن يجد اللذة أو يقصدها.
And touching of the opposite gender is makes one lose.
لمن تشتهى.
Touching of the opposite gender of one who is, that is desired, meaning
لا صغيرة إلا تكمل 5 سنين أو 6
meaning that she's like not like a baby who's like below 5-6 years old, nor is هذا هو.
إن قصد لذة أو وجدها.
إن كانت عجوزة يعني.
نعم يجب عليه الوضوء.
But if she's old, then he would still need wudu. If one of two things happen, if either he intended pleasure by doing so, or experienced pleasure even if he didn't intend it. So if both of those things, or one of those
قصد
things,
لذة أو وجدها لابد من أحدهما.
whether he, if either of these things are present, whether he found a derived pleasure or intended pleasure, even
أما
if he
إذا
didn't
لم
find it.
يقصد اللذة ولم يشهدها فلا شيء عليه.
The only case where he wouldn't lose his wudu by touching the opposite gender is if he neither intended to find pleasure in it, nor did he experience that pleasure unintentionally. When both of those things are missing.
This is like sexual pleasure.
يعني هل يكون اللذة يعني
إلا يحس
جنسية
الشعور فقط.
يعني مثلا لو كان في تدليك يعني شخص يتلذذ من التدليك لأنه يرتاح
عندما يشعر بالشهوة هذا وإذا كان فقط.
لا ليس بالشهوة يعني.
لا.
So it has to be a sexual pleasure and desire, not
لكن
a, for example.
فلتحتاطوا.
But be mindful, be careful, and take the safer route.
مذهب الشافعي لمس كله نقض.
In the Shafi'i madhab, all touching, intergender touching is breaks the wudu.
ومس الذكر بباطن الكف بدون حائل.
And touching the male private part with the inside of the hand without a barrier.
بياض الكف والأصابع وجناب الأكفين.
Meaning the bottom of the hand and the sides of the fingers. Or the fingertips.
أو رؤوسها.
Or the fingertips.
ومن شك في حدث وجب عليه الوضوء. هذا بدون حائل طبعا. هذا كان هناك
And of
سوار.
course, if there's no, means touching the male private part. The male private part only, specifically, without any barrier.
أو باطن الأصابع. ومن شك في حدث وجب عليه الوضوء.
And whoever doubts whether they have lost their wudu or not, that in itself, that doubt causes them to lose their wudu.
خلافا لغير مالك.
No?
خلافا لغير مالك.
This is an opinion that was held by Malik and not other than him.
إلا أن يكون موسوسا فلا شيء عليه.
Except if a person is one who is obsessive compulsive about this, he gets OCD about losing his wudu and so on, then he shouldn't take that opinion.
ويجب عليه
And he actually does not lose his wudu.
ويجب عليه غسل الذكر كله من المذي. ينقض الوضوء بعد ذلك يجب عليه غسل إن كان خرج بلذة معتادة.
And if one has pre-seminal fluid that comes out, then he must wash all of his private part. If it came,
إن كان خرج بلذة معتادة.
If it came out due to pleasure, that somebody that it came out, because generally you're not going to know where it came out, where it went, so you wash the whole private part.
وإذا صار كالنجاسة يغسل محله.
Like just the shaft, not the.
نعم وإن رأى يعني أين ذهب فسيغسله فقط.
إن كان يخرج بدون لذة فيغسله كغسل النجاسة.
نعم. And if it comes out due to other than pleasure, then he washes it like any other najasa. But if it comes out due to normal pleasure, he must wash the whole private part for him to be considered clean.
ويجب على الذكر كل من مذي ولا يغسل الأنثيين.
And he must and he does not
يغسل الذكر كله ولا يغسل الأنثيين.
and for this pre-seminal fluid, then a person washes the private part, but they do not wash the two yes, thank you.
Yeah.
والمذي هو الماء الخارج عند الشهوة الصغرى.
And the madhi is the liquid, the clear liquid that comes out due to a minor sexual pleasure.
كتفكر أو نظر أو غيره.
Could be from imagination or from gazing or other than that.
أو لمس هكذا.
Or kissing or touching.
فصل لا يحل لغير المتوضئ صلاة ولا طواف.
So then, and what is impermissible now for a person without wudu to do? What can one not do while with wudu?
لا يحل لغير المتوضئ صلاة ولا طواف.
If a person does not have wudu, it is haram for him to pray or to perform tawaf around the Kaaba.
ولا مس نسخة القرآن العظيم بالخط العربي.
Or to touch a copy of the Quran that is only in the Arabic language.
ما إذا كان مكتوبا بالعجمية فلا يحرم.
But if it is written in a language other than Arabic, then it is not haram to touch it.
ولا جلده.
And they cannot touch even the outside of that Quran.
لا بيده ولا بعود ونحوه.
Not by his hand, not by a stick or anything
لا
else.
أي شيء من بدنه.
He cannot touch it at all.
لا بأي شيء من بدنه.
Nothing from his body.
إلا جزء منها المتعلم إلا إذا كان جزء من نسخة القرآن.
Unless there's just a chapter or a portion that they had
شيء
written
أقل
down.
من القرآن كله فقط.
Any part of the Quran is less than the whole Quran
للمتعلم
for the one
والمعلم.
who is learning, like a one who has
يجب
a
أن
tablet
يحفظها ليس للتبرك.
that he is holding for learning, not for seeking barakah, that he has this for learning. He
معلم
uses wudu, he can still
والمتعلم.
touch it. Why either he is learning or teaching, meaning for educational purposes.
ولا مس لوح القرآن العظيم على غير الوضوء إلا لمتعلم فيه ومعلم بصحيح.
So, or touching a tablet that has the Quran written on it, unless one is a student or a teacher that is correcting him.
والصحيح أن القرآن كله يجوز أخذه للمتعلم أو المعلم. صحيح أن المصحف كله كذلك ولكن في قول آخر وهو قول.
And there's another opinion. Actually, the correct opinion is that even somebody who is learning and teaching, they can touch the entire Quran if they are learning or teaching, but that is a different opinion.
إلا المتعلم ومعلم يصححه معناه يصحح اللوحة. الصبي في مس القرآن كالكبير.
So that means the tablet, when we say correcting it, we mean correcting even the not even correcting the person who is reading, but correcting the errors on the tablet even. And when we say tablet, we mean like a wooden tablet that has actual ink written on it, not an electronic tablet.
الصبي في مس القرآن كالكبير.
And a child in touching the Quran is like the adult. They shouldn't touch the Quran without.
ولكنه هو غير آثم والإثم على مناوله معناها تاركه أو المعطي له.
But then for the child, the sin is not upon the child. The sin is upon the person who left that Quran in a place where the child would touch it, or gave it to that child.
ومن صلى بغير وضوء عامدا فهو كافر كما قال الأخضر والعياذ.
And whoever intentionally prays a prayer without wudu, knowing they don't have wudu and they're praying anyways, they become a kafir. And this is the Akhdari's opinion.
فمعناه أن الآن كم يصلي من جاهل بغير وضوء.
Then that means how many people are ignorant who are praying without wudu?
أصلى بلا وضوء.
How many people are praying without wudu?
لكن هذا قول غير مشهور.
But this is not the majority opinion.
فهو عاص.
Then this person is very disobedient.
إلا إذا استحل ذلك فهو كافر.
But if he says that it's okay for me to pray without learning how to make wudu, then he becomes a kafir.
فمعناه أن الأمر خطير.
So this means that the matter is very dangerous.
كم الساعة الآن؟
6:30.
ما زال سنتابع إن شاء الله.